When I was in grade school, I wanted to be a hairdresser or an airline pilot, and instead I ended up working for NASA. So it's not really a typical storyline. And I was the only girl in my class in applied maths, and there was 7 of us in the whole school that were taking higher higher math, physics and applied math, and so we became a kind of a little cohort ourselves, and that was simultaneously sort of inspiring and made me want to kind of push harder, to prove myself, or show that I had every right to be in this little clique of math nerds. And then when I started at university, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to do science of some kind. And when I was on vacation in Washington, D.C., I was in the Air and Space Museum, and I was looking around the Apollo exhibits, and I think I was in line waiting to go into the planetarium, and I was looking down on one of the capsules. And at that stage I had the choice in university that I could either continue just with experimental physics, or I could take a dual major of physics and astrophysics. And I was looking at the Apollo exhibits and I'm like, I could do this for a living. That's kind of cool. And I guess if I don't like the astro part, I still have the other part of my physics degree to fall back on. So I decided there that I was going to go for the double major thing, and so I decided to do astrophysics. In my 3rd year of university, it wasn't technically called an REU program, but it was a summer internship program very similar to an REU program at Kennedy Space Centre, where they brought, the Irish government brought over, I think there was 8 or 10 of us, I can't remember. It was a small group of students for 6 weeks, and we interned at Kennedy Space Centre, and we did projects. We built weather balloons. We had unprecedented access to all of their labs. It was probably one of the most inspiring summers of my whole life, and that was slightly after I had made the decision to do astro, and I figured at that stage then this was the right way to go. But it was at that point that I had kind of gotten hooked on the space science side of things rather than astronomy. They're subtly different fields, and so that was an interesting kind of transition then. So I went from doing physics to physics and astrophysics, then astrophysics with the space science and aeronautics kind of bent, and then into solar physics, which is a subfield of space physics. I had never really heard of solar physics at this stage, and it wasn't until we got a new professor, Peter Gallagher, come to our university, and he actually came first as a guest speaker to the undergraduate society, and he was very inspiring. He was really interesting. He seemed very normal and down to earth, and then he actually got a position teaching at Trinity College, and I was just drawn to his science. I thought he was very interesting. I thought that the kind of work he was doing was different than the rest of astrophysics. The sun is the only star whose surface that we can resolve. Every other star is just a point source. And so all of a sudden there was all this detail that you couldn't see on any other star. And so I thought that was very interesting and cool. And then he offered me the opportunity to go work at NASA, and there was no turning back from there. So I spent my my early graduate student summers interning at Goddard Space Flight Center, and after that I was hooked. There was no turning back.